The star system of Epsilon 7 stretched endlessly before the fleet, a vast expanse of blackness dotted with faint glimmers of distant suns. It was a place untouched by human hands, or so everyone believed. Commander Liam Carter stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of dust and gas visible through the viewport. His ship, along with 3 others, had been sent to explore this remote corner of the galaxy. The mission was simple: map the region, gather data, and return home. But something about this system felt wrong. Liam glanced at his crew. They were quiet, their usual chatter replaced by an uneasy silence. Even Lieutenant Harper, the ship's navigator, seemed distracted as she adjusted the controls. The sensors had picked up strange energy readings coming from one of the moons orbiting a nearby gas giant. At first, they thought it might be a natural phenomenon, like volcanic activity or magnetic storms. But the closer they got, the clearer it became that these signals weren't random. They pulsed in a rhythmic pattern, almost like a heartbeat. "Commander," Harper said finally, breaking the silence, "we're getting stronger readings now. Whatever it is, it's definitely artificial." Liam nodded, though his stomach tightened with unease. Artificial meant intelligent life, and intelligent life out here wasn't supposed to exist. Humanity had spent centuries searching for signs of extraterrestrials, only to come up empty-handed. Now, deep in uncharted space, they stumbled upon something unexpected and possibly dangerous. "Bring us into orbit around the moon," Liam ordered, "and prep a landing team. I want to see this up close." Harper hesitated but didn't argue. She relayed the orders to the rest of the crew while Liam reviewed the data streaming in from the scanners. The moon itself was barren, its surface covered in jagged ice and dark craters. But beneath that icy crust, the sensors detected massive structures buried deep within the ground. Structures too precise, too symmetrical, to have formed naturally. When the landing party touched down, the cold hit them immediately. The air was thin, barely breathable even with their suits, and the landscape looked like something out of a nightmare. Jagged peaks loomed over them, casting long shadows in the dim light of the distant sun. As they moved toward the source of the energy signal, Liam noticed how quiet everything was. No wind, no movement, just an oppressive stillness that made his skin crawl. It didn't take long to find what they were looking for. Rising out of the ice were towering spires, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that glowed faintly in shades of blue and green. The designs were unlike anything Liam had ever seen, twisting and spiraling in ways that defied logic. He reached out to touch one of the markings, feeling a strange warmth beneath his gloved hand. "This can't be real," muttered Dr. Elena Ruiz, the team's xenobiologist. Her voice trembled slightly as she scanned the structure with her equipment. "These patterns, they're not just decorative. They're some kind of language." Before anyone could respond, a sharp crackle echoed through their comms. Static filled their headsets for a moment, followed by a low, resonant voice. It wasn't human, but there was no mistaking its tone. Calm, yet laced with warning. "You are not welcome here." The words sent a chill down Liam's spine. He turned to his team, meeting their wide-eyed stares. None of them needed to say it aloud. They all felt the same mix of fear and awe. They had found something incredible, something beyond their understanding. But as the voice faded into silence, one thing became painfully clear. Humanity's arrival had not gone unnoticed. Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Bennett sat in her lab, analyzing the data transmitted from the fleet. She frowned as she studied the energy readings and the mysterious message. Something about it didn't sit right. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a turning point. And Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was walking into something far bigger than anyone had anticipated. The voice lingered in the minds of the landing team like an unshakable shadow. "You are not welcome here." The words had been calm, almost gentle, but carried a weight that made Liam's chest tighten. He glanced at his crew, their faces pale beneath their helmets. None of them moved for a moment, frozen by the gravity of what they'd just heard. Dr. Elena Ruiz was the first to break the silence. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. She clutched her scanner tightly, as if it could somehow protect her from whatever was out there. Liam took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. "We stay alert," he said firmly. "We're here to gather information, not start a fight. Keep your weapons ready, but don't provoke anything." The team nodded, though their unease was obvious. They continued toward the base of one of the towering spires, searching for answers. As they approached, the glowing patterns on the structure began to shift, the lines rearranging themselves into new shapes. It was as if the spire was alive, responding to their presence. Elena scanned the surface again, her device beeping rapidly. "There's some kind of energy flowing through this thing," she said. "It's not mechanical. It's organic. I don't know how else to describe it." Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble echoed through the icy landscape, growing louder with each passing second. The team instinctively backed away from the spire, their eyes scanning the horizon. Then, without warning, the ice cracked open, revealing a hidden chamber below. Inside the chamber, they found more structures, smaller ones this time, arranged in a circular pattern. At the center stood a pedestal, its surface covered in the same glowing symbols as the spires. Liam stepped closer, his heart pounding. He reached out cautiously, his gloved hand hovering over the pedestal. Before he could touch it, the symbols flared brightly, and a holographic image appeared above the structure. It showed a star map, dotted with dozens of points connected by thin lines. One of the points pulsed brighter than the others, clearly marking their current location. But what caught Liam's attention was the cluster of red dots surrounding Epsilon 7. They looked like warnings or threats. "This is bad," Elena whispered. "Whatever this is, it's not just about us. There's something bigger going on here." Back aboard the Odyssey *, Lieutenant Harper monitored the situation from the bridge. Her fingers flew across the console as she tried to make sense of the data streaming in from the surface. The energy readings were off the charts, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected movement nearby. Dozens of objects emerged from behind the moon, their sleek designs unlike anything human engineers had ever created. "Commander, we've got company," Harper said over the comms, her voice tense. Liam's response came quickly. "Do they look hostile?" "I don't know yet," Harper replied. "But they're surrounding us." On board the battle cruiser Eclipse *, Captain Rachel Monroe received an urgent transmission from the Odyssey *. She listened intently as Liam described the alien vessels closing in around his fleet. Her jaw tightened as she processed the information. This wasn't supposed to happen. Humanity wasn't ready for a confrontation like this. "We need to mobilize," Rachel said to her executive officer, Commander Daniel Hayes. "Get the fleet prepped for deployment. If those ships attack, we'll need every advantage we can get." Hayes nodded, relaying the orders to the crew. Within minutes, the massive armada began moving toward Epsilon 7, engines roaring as they prepared for the unknown. Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked tirelessly to decode the message intercepted from the alien signal. She knew time was running out, but the complexity of the language frustrated her. Every symbol seemed to have multiple meanings, shifting depending on context. As the hours passed, tensions mounted across both fleets. One human, one alien. Neither side understood the other, and fear bred mistrust. On the surface of the moon, Liam and his team remained trapped inside the chamber, unsure whether they were guests or prisoners. The glowing symbols on the walls flickered erratically, as if reacting to the growing chaos outside. When the first drone appeared, hovering silently above the team, Liam raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. The drone scanned him with a bright beam of light, before retreating back into the shadows. Whatever these beings were, they weren't making their intentions clear. And as the human fleet drew closer to Epsilon 7, One thing became painfully obvious. Humanity had stumbled into a conflict it didn't fully understand, and peace might already be slipping out of reach. Captain Rachel Monroe stood on the bridge of the Eclipse *, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The alien ships loomed larger now, their sleek designs glinting faintly in the dim light of Epsilon 7's distant sun. They moved with a precision that was almost hypnotic, forming patterns around the human fleet. Rachel's hands gripped the railing tightly as she tried to make sense of their movements. Were they preparing to attack, or were they simply observing? "Commander Hayes," she said sharply, "status report." Hayes glanced at his console before responding. "The aliens aren't firing yet, but they've deployed drones. At least 20 of them are circling the Odyssey *. Sensors show they're scanning our ships, probably gathering intel." Rachel frowned. "They're testing us," she muttered under her breath. She turned to her communications officer. "Have we tried hailing them again?" "Yes, ma'am," the officer replied. No response. Just that same message. "You are not welcome here." Rachel clenched her jaw. The lack of communication was maddening. Humanity had come this far, braving the unknown reaches of space, only to be met with silence, or worse, hostility. She couldn't let fear dictate their next move, but she also couldn't ignore the growing threat. On the surface of the moon, Liam and his team remained trapped inside the chamber, surrounded by glowing symbols and the eerie hum of alien technology. The drones had stopped scanning them for now, but their presence lingered like an unspoken warning. Dr. Elena Ruiz crouched near the pedestal, studying the holographic star map projected above it. "These red dots," she said, pointing to the cluster surrounding Epsilon 7, "they look like battle zones. Maybe past conflicts. It's hard to tell without more context." Liam nodded, though his mind raced with possibilities. If these aliens viewed humanity as a threat, it could explain their cold reception. But why? Humans had barely scratched the surface of interstellar travel. What could they possibly have done to provoke such hostility? Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked late into the night, her desk cluttered with notes and diagrams. She replayed the intercepted message over and over, trying to decipher its meaning. The voice itself was calm, almost soothing, but the words carried a weight that sent chills down her spine. Not welcome here. Was it a warning? A threat? Or something else entirely? Her computer beeped suddenly, pulling her attention back to the screen. One of the symbols she'd been analyzing matched a pattern found in ancient Earth texts. Texts linked to civilizations that had vanished without explanation. Could there be a connection? Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she cross-referenced the data. If she was right, humanity might not be dealing with ordinary aliens. These beings could be older, wiser, and far more advanced than anyone had imagined. Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse *, tensions reached a breaking point when one of the drones fired a low-intensity beam at the fleet's outermost ship. The blast didn't cause significant damage, but it was enough to send shockwaves through the crew. "They're probing us," shouted Lieutenant Marcus Cole, the ship's tactical officer, "testing our defenses." Rachel raised a hand to silence him. "Hold your fire," she ordered firmly. "We don't know their intentions yet. Nobody shoots unless I give the order." Her decision sparked murmurs of dissent among the crew, but Rachel ignored them. Firing back would only escalate things, and she wasn't about to start a war based on assumptions. Still, the pressure weighed heavily on her shoulders. Every second they delayed brought them closer to disaster. As the standoff continued, strange images began appearing on the fleet's monitors. Flickering visuals of planets consumed by fire, cities crumbling into dust, and skies filled with explosions. The messages were clear. Destruction followed wherever these aliens went. But who were the victims? And what role did humanity play in all of this? Liam watched helplessly as similar scenes played out on the walls of the chamber. He realized then that the aliens weren't just hostile. They were afraid. Afraid of outsiders bringing ruin to their world, much like others had done before. Whatever happened next, He knew one thing for certain. Humanity's arrival had already changed everything. The human fleet drifted in silence, surrounded by the alien ships that glided effortlessly through space. Captain Rachel Monroe paced the bridge of the Eclipse Asterisk, her mind racing. She had to find a way to break the deadlock before it spiraled into violence. The images broadcasted by the aliens, worlds burning, civilizations collapsing, were warnings, but what exactly were they warning against? Was humanity seen as another destructive force, like those who came before? Rachel turned to Commander Hayes. "We need to show them we're not here to fight," she said firmly. "Prepare a signal. Something simple. Let's transmit visuals of Earth, our cities, our people, our peaceful moments." Hayes hesitated. "Do you think they'll understand?" "We have to try," Rachel replied. "If we don't act now, this could end badly for everyone." While the crew worked on assembling the transmission, tensions aboard the Odyssey grew worse. The drones continued to circle the ship, their movements erratic and unpredictable. Lieutenant Harper monitored their activity closely, her fingers flying across the console. Suddenly, one of the drones fired another low-intensity beam, this time targeting the ship's communication array. "They're interfering with our systems," Harper shouted. "I can't maintain contact with the surface team." Liam heard the panic in Harper's voice over his comms. He glanced at his team, all of whom looked equally uneasy. They were cut off, stranded inside the alien chamber, with no way to call for help. The glowing symbols on the walls pulsed brighter, as if reacting to the chaos outside. "Stay calm," Liam said, though his own nerves were fraying. "We'll figure this out." Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Bennett finally pieced together part of the puzzle. The symbols from the intercepted message matched ancient patterns found in ruins scattered across several planets. These weren't just random markings, they were remnants of a long-lost civilization, one that had once dominated the galaxy. And according to the texts, this civilization had been wiped out after encountering a mysterious species known only as the Veil. Olivia's heart raced as she connected the dots. The beings surrounding the human fleet weren't ordinary aliens. They were the Veil, survivors of a catastrophic war. Their hostility wasn't without reason. They believed outsiders brought destruction wherever they went. Her hands trembled as she typed up a report, knowing it might be too late to stop the brewing conflict. On board the Eclipse Asterisk, the visual transmission was ready. Rachel gave the order to send it, watching anxiously as the images of Earth spread across the void. For a moment, there was no response. Then one of the alien ships moved closer, its sleek surface shimmering like liquid metal. A new message appeared on the fleet's monitors, this time accompanied by strange, flickering symbols. Commander Hayes leaned forward. "It's a reply." "What does it say?" Rachel asked sharply. "It's fragmented, but they're asking about our technology, specifically weapons." Rachel's stomach sank. "They think we're armed for conquest." Before she could respond, protests erupted back on Earth. News of the standoff spread quickly, dividing public opinion. Some called for immediate withdrawal, arguing that humanity wasn't ready for interstellar warfare. Others demanded retaliation, accusing the aliens of aggression. Amid the chaos, Olivia pleaded with government officials to share her findings. If the Veil feared humanity because of past events, understanding their history might be the key to avoiding disaster. As the hours dragged on, Liam and his team remained trapped in the chamber. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating, as the glowing symbols began shifting faster. Suddenly, the holographic star map expanded, showing new constellations and unfamiliar planets. One planet stood out, a glowing orb surrounded by rings of fire. "That's where it started," Elena whispered, pointing to the fiery world. "Their homeworld, where the war began." Liam stared at the image, realization dawning. The Veil weren't just defending themselves, they were protecting their home, their future. Humanity's arrival had triggered memories of a painful past, and fear had driven them to react. but there was still a chance to change the narrative. "We need to prove we're different," Liam said quietly. "That we're not here to destroy." He turned to the pedestal, his hand hovering over its surface. Whatever happened next would determine whether humanity walked away or became another chapter in the Veil's tragic history. Liam placed his hand on the pedestal, feeling a faint vibration beneath his glove. The glowing symbols flared brightly in response, and the holographic star map dissolved into a new image, a swirling vortex of light and shadow. At its center stood a massive structure, shaped like a spire but far larger than anything they had seen so far. It pulsed with energy, radiating both beauty and menace. "What is that?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Liam could answer, the chamber shook violently, throwing the team off balance. A deep rumble echoed through the icy walls as the alien drones reappeared, hovering closer than before. Their mechanical eyes glowed red, scanning the humans with an intensity that made Liam's skin crawl. "They're not happy," he muttered, pulling himself to his feet. "We need to leave. Now." But as they turned toward the exit, the ground beneath them cracked open, revealing a tunnel leading deeper into the moon's core. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the planet itself was drawing them in. Liam hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. Whatever secrets lay below might be their only chance to prove humanity's intentions. Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, Captain Rachel Monroe watched anxiously as the alien ships began moving again. They formed a tight perimeter around the human fleet, their movements sharp and deliberate. Then, without warning, one of the larger vessels emitted a blinding flash of light. When the glare faded, a figure appeared on the main screen, a tall, slender being with shimmering skin and elongated limbs. Its eyes glowed faintly, piercing through the bridge like twin stars. "I am Kel," it said, its voice calm but firm. "You seek knowledge, yet you bring danger. Explain yourselves." Rachel stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We are explorers," she said carefully. "We came here seeking understanding, not conflict. We mean no harm." Kale tilted its head slightly, studying her. "Your kind carries echoes of ruin. We have faced such threats before. Why should we trust you?" Before Rachel could respond, Dr. Olivia Bennett's decoded message reached the fleet. She explained the Veil's history, their devastating war with a technologically advanced species that had nearly wiped them out. That species had used weapons powered by unstable energy cores, leaving entire star systems in ruins. The Veil believed humanity possessed similar technology, remnants of which may have been passed down unknowingly. "This changes everything," Rachel whispered to Commander Hayes. Turning back to Kale, she continued, "We are not those who harmed you. Our ancestors never encountered your people, but if we share any connection to that past, we will work to ensure it does not repeat." Kale paused, its glowing eyes narrowing. For a long moment, there was silence. Then it spoke again. "Prove it." Meanwhile, Liam and his team ventured further into the tunnel, guided by the pulsing glow of the walls. The deeper they went, the more intricate the carvings became, scenes of battles, shattered worlds, and desperate survival. At last, they reached a cavernous chamber dominated by a massive crystal suspended in midair. It hummed softly, resonating with the same energy detected earlier. "This must be their power source," Elena said, awe in her voice. "It's incredible." Liam approached cautiously, noticing etchings at the base of the crystal. They depicted humans, or beings resembling humans, wielding strange devices that emitted destructive beams. His stomach churned as he realized what it meant. The Veil saw humanity as descendants of their ancient enemies. "We need to show them we've changed," Liam said grimly. He activated his communicator, hoping against hope that the signal would reach the fleet. "Rachel, can you hear me? We found something important. If we want peace, we'll have to give up more than words." As the message crackled through static, Rachel understood the gravity of the situation. Trust wouldn't come easily, not after centuries of pain and loss. But if humanity wanted a future among the stars, they would have to prove they were worthy of it. The stage was set for a fragile alliance, though the cost of failure loomed large. Every decision mattered now, and the weight of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Rachel stared at the main screen, her mind racing. Kel's demand hung in the air like a challenge. Prove it. Prove that humanity wasn't a threat. Prove that they were different from the species that had nearly destroyed the Veil centuries ago. The burden of proof rested on her shoulders, and she knew there was no room for error. "We'll meet them," Rachel said finally, turning to Commander Hayes. "Prepare a shuttle. I'm going to their ship." Hayes frowned, his voice tense. "That's too risky, Captain. We don't know what they're capable of." "I agree with Hayes," added Lieutenant Cole, the tactical officer. "If this goes wrong, we could lose you and any chance of peace." Rachel shook her head firmly. "We don't have a choice. If we stay hidden behind our fleet, they'll never trust us. Someone has to take the first step." Lion's transmission from the moon confirmed what Rachel already suspected. The Veil believed humanity carried remnants of the same destructive technology that had once devastated their people. To earn their trust, humanity would need to show vulnerability, something no one liked, but something necessary. The shuttle launched moments later, carrying Rachel and a small delegation. As they approached the alien flagship, its surface shimmered, revealing an opening that swallowed the craft whole. Inside, the environment was unlike anything Rachel had ever seen. The walls seemed alive, pulsing faintly with light, and the air hummed with energy. Kale awaited them, flanked by other Veil, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. "You come unarmed," Kale observed, its tone neutral. "A wise decision." Rachel nodded, keeping her voice steady. "We're here to listen, to understand, and to prove we're not your enemies." Kale studied her for a long moment before gesturing toward a circular platform. "Show us your truth." The platform lit up, projecting images of Earth, its cities, forests, oceans, and people. But as the display continued, darker scenes appeared. Wars, pollution, destruction. The Veil watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Rachel realized they weren't just observing, they were judging. "These are our mistakes," Rachel admitted. "We've caused harm, yes, but we've also learned. We've rebuilt, changed. That's why we're here, to grow, not to destroy." Kale tilted its head slightly, considering her words. Then, without warning, the platform shifted again, showing fragments of the Veil's own history. Rachel saw their homeworld burning, their people fleeing, their struggle to survive. It was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into their pain and their fear. Back on the moon, Liam and his team worked frantically to disable the crystal at the heart of the cavern. They had realized its significance. It was a failsafe, designed to wipe out anything deemed a threat. If the Veil decided humanity posed a danger, they wouldn't hesitate to activate it. "We can't let them use this against us," Liam said, his hands trembling as he adjusted the settings on his toolkit. "If we shut it down, maybe they'll see we're serious about peace." Alina hesitated. "What if it backfires? What if they think we're attacking?" "It's a risk we have to take," Liam replied grimly. With a deep breath, he triggered the device. The crystal dimmed, its hum fading into silence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground quaked violently, and the markings on the walls began to fade. On board the Veil flagship, alarms blared suddenly. Kale turned sharply, its glowing eyes narrowing. "You tamper with what you do not understand." Rachel stepped forward, her voice firm despite the rising tension. "It wasn't an attack. My people acted to prevent destruction, to show we're willing to sacrifice, even our own safety, for peace." Kale paused, its gaze flickering between Rachel and the images still displayed on the platform. Slowly, the alarms ceased, and the ship's hum returned to normal. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Kale lowered its head slightly, a gesture that might have been respect. Your actions are strange, unpredictable. Perhaps you are not like those who came before. Rachel exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. It wasn't victory, not yet, but it was a start. Trust would take time, effort, and mutual understanding. As the shuttle carried her back to the Eclipse Asterisk, she knew humanity had taken its first step toward a fragile alliance. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, hope felt within reach. The fragile trust between humanity and the Veil hung by a thread. Talks had begun aboard the alien flagship, with Rachel Monroe leading the human delegation alongside Kale, the Veil commander. Both sides were cautious, their words measured, as they navigated the delicate balance of diplomacy. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Back on Earth, protests erupted in cities across the globe. Some people called for immediate withdrawal from Epsilon 7, fearing the consequences of provoking an advanced alien species. Others demanded action, accusing the government of weakness for negotiating instead of asserting dominance. Amid the chaos, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between humans and the Veil. She shared her findings about the ancient war and the destructive technology that haunted the Veil's past, urging leaders to emphasize transparency. "We need to show them we've learned," Olivia told a panel of military officials during an emergency meeting. "If we hide anything, it will only fuel their fears." Her plea was heard, but not everyone agreed. Deep within the human fleet, someone leaked classified schematics of experimental weapon systems, technology still in development, but clearly inspired by remnants of the same energy cores used by the Veil's ancient enemies. The files reached the Veil almost instantly, shattering the tentative progress made during negotiations. Kale confronted Rachel angrily, its calm demeanor replaced by sharp, accusing tones. "You lie to us. These designs, you carry the tools of ruin within your own ships." Rachel stared at the screen displaying the weapon schematics, her heart sinking. "I didn't know about this," she said firmly. "Whoever sent this acted without orders. It doesn't represent all of humanity." But Kale wasn't convinced. "Deception is deception, regardless of intent. You are no different from those who came before." The room fell silent, the weight of betrayal pressing down on everyone present. Rachel clenched her fists, frustration boiling inside her. Someone had sabotaged their efforts, and now the fragile alliance was crumbling. She turned to Commander Hayes, who stood nearby. "Find out who did this. Now." While the investigation began aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, Liam Carter faced his own crisis on the moon. The crystal he had disabled earlier remained dormant, but the Veil's presence grew stronger around the chamber. Drones swarmed overhead, their red eyes glowing ominously. Alina gripped her scanner tightly, fear etched across her face. "They're going to attack," she whispered. "We should leave while we still can." Liam shook his head. "If we run, it'll look like we're guilty. We stay, and we fix this." He activated his communicator, patching through to Rachel. "Commander, we've got trouble here. The Veil are mobilizing. If something doesn't change soon, they'll see us as the enemy again." Rachel listened grimly, knowing time was running out. She turned back to Kale, desperation creeping into her voice. "Let me prove we're not behind this. Give me one more chance." Kale hesitated, its glowing eyes flickering. Finally, it spoke. "Very well. But if you fail, there will be no second chances." Determined to uncover the truth, Rachel ordered a full sweep of the fleet's communications logs. The trail led to Lieutenant Marcus Cole, the tactical officer aboard the Eclipse Asterisk. Confronted with evidence, Cole confessed. He had leaked the files, believing humanity needed leverage against the Veil. "You may have doomed us all." Rachel snapped, her voice trembling with anger. "This isn't about leverage, it's about survival." Realizing the gravity of his actions, Cole volunteered to make amends. Under heavy guard, he accompanied Rachel back to the Veil flagship, where she presented him to Kale as proof of humanity's willingness to take responsibility. "This man acted alone," Rachel explained. "His mistake does not define us. Let us work together to ensure such weapons are never used again." For a long moment, Kel studied Cole, then Rachel. Finally, it nodded slowly. "Your kind is reckless, but perhaps not beyond redemption." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A rogue drone, malfunctioning from earlier interference, fired directly at the platform. In the chaos, Liam sprang into action, using his suit's emergency protocols to disable the drone and sever its connection to the crystal. The effort cost him dearly. He collapsed to the ground, injured but alive. When the dust settled, Kel regarded Liam's sacrifice with quiet respect. "Your actions speak louder than words," it said. "Perhaps there is hope for coexistence after all." Though battered and bruised, both sides emerged from the ordeal with renewed determination. Trust would take time, but for the first time, it felt possible. In the days that followed, humanity and the Veil began to rebuild what had nearly been destroyed. The fragile alliance forged through sacrifice and honesty became the foundation for a new chapter in both species' histories. Liam Carter's bravery on the moon had not gone unnoticed. Though he survived his injuries, his actions left a lasting mark, not just on the Veil, but on all of humanity. He returned to Earth hailed as a hero, though he preferred to keep a low profile, focusing instead on helping Dr. Olivia Bennett decode more of the alien language. Olivia threw herself into her work with renewed purpose. With access to the Veil's archives, she uncovered stories of resilience, loss, and hope. She realized that much of their history mirrored humanity's own struggles, cycles of destruction followed by rebuilding, mistakes leading to growth. Her findings helped bridge the cultural gap between humans and the Veil, fostering understanding where there had once been only fear. On board the Eclipse Asterisk, Captain Rachel Monroe reflected on the events that had unfolded. The weight of leadership still rested heavily on her shoulders, but she felt a sense of pride. Humanity had faced its darkest hour in Epsilon 7 and emerged stronger, not through force, but through humility and cooperation. Rachel knew the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, but for the first time, she believed peace was possible. The human fleet remained in orbit around the moon, working alongside the Veil to dismantle the remnants of the ancient weapon systems buried deep within the icy surface. Teams of scientists, engineers, and diplomats collaborated daily, sharing knowledge and building trust. It wasn't easy. Old wounds ran deep, and misunderstandings often arose. But each small victory brought them closer together. Back on Earth, attitudes began to shift. The initial panic and division gave way to cautious optimism. People saw the images sent back from Epsilon 7, the towering spires, the glowing symbols, the Veil themselves, and realized they were no longer alone in the universe. Schools added lessons about interstellar diplomacy to their curriculums, and global leaders signed agreements to ensure humanity approached future encounters with care and respect. Lieutenant Marcus Cole, whose betrayal had nearly undone everything, worked tirelessly to redeem himself. Assigned to a joint task force with the Veil, he learned firsthand the pain his actions had caused. Over time, his sincerity earned him a measure of forgiveness, not just from the Veil, but from his fellow humans as well. His story became a reminder that even those who make grave mistakes can contribute to healing if given the chance. As weeks turned into months, the coalition between humanity and the Veil expanded beyond Epsilon 7. Together, they formed an exploratory fleet, venturing further into the galaxy to uncover its mysteries. The Veil shared their advanced technology, while humanity offered creativity and adaptability. Each side brought something unique to the partnership, proving that unity was far stronger than division. One evening, Rachel stood on the observation deck of the Eclipse Asterisk, gazing at the stars. Cale joined her, its glowing eyes reflecting the soft light of distant suns. They didn't speak for a long time, simply standing side by side, as equals. "You have changed," Cale said finally, its voice calm and measured. "Your kind has shown courage and wisdom." Rachel smiled faintly. "We're still learning, but we're trying." Cale nodded slowly. "That is enough. For now." The journey ahead would be long and uncertain, filled with challenges neither side could predict. But as the combined fleet moved forward, one thing was clear. Humanity's arrival in Epsilon 7 had sparked something extraordinary. What began as an unintended encounter evolved into a shared destiny, a promise to explore the stars together, guided by mutual respect and a commitment to peace. And so, under the vast expanse of the cosmos, two vastly different species took their first steps toward a brighter future, united not by necessity, but by choice. The combined fleet of humanity and the Veil moved steadily through the galaxy, their ships gliding side by side like companions bound by a shared purpose. Each day brought new discoveries, planets teeming with strange life forms, ancient ruins whispering secrets of forgotten civilizations, and star systems unlike anything either species had ever seen. The partnership flourished, though it wasn't without its challenges. Misunderstandings still arose, and old fears sometimes resurfaced. But both sides were learning to navigate these moments with patience and respect. Dr. Olivia Bennett remained at the heart of the collaboration, her work more vital than ever. She spent countless hours studying the Veil's language and history, uncovering patterns that revealed their deepest values: survival, unity, and an unwavering determination to protect their future. Her findings helped shape new protocols for communication between humans and the Veil, ensuring that even subtle nuances weren't lost in translation. Slowly but surely, trust grew stronger. Captain Rachel Monroe continued to lead the human contingent, her leadership evolving as she embraced the complexities of working alongside an alien species. She often found herself in deep discussions with Cale, their conversations ranging from tactical strategies to philosophical debates about the nature of exploration. Though they came from vastly different worlds, Rachel realized they shared a common goal: to leave the galaxy better than they found it. On Earth, the impact of humanity's alliance with the Veil was profound. News of their cooperation inspired millions, sparking a wave of innovation and creativity. Artists painted murals depicting humans and Veil standing together beneath the stars. Writers penned stories imagining a future where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Even governments began restructuring policies to prioritize peace over conflict, recognizing that humanity's survival depended on its ability to adapt and connect. Lieutenant Marcus Cole, once burdened by guilt, found redemption in his role within the Coalition. He worked closely with Veil engineers, helping them understand human technology, while learning the intricacies of theirs. His efforts earned him not only forgiveness, but also friendship. One evening, as he shared a quiet moment with a Veil technician named Syrah, he felt a sense of belonging he hadn't known was possible. "We are not so different," Syrah said softly, its glowing eyes meeting his. "Both our kinds seek light in the darkness." Marcus nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "Maybe that's why we're here, to find it together." Meanwhile, Liam Carter recovered fully from his injuries and returned to active duty. Though he could have rested on his laurels after his heroic actions on the Moon, he chose instead to continue serving as part of the joint exploration team. His calm demeanor and quick thinking made him a natural leader among both humans and Veil. He often reminded his crew that every step they took into the unknown was a chance to rewrite the rules of coexistence. As the fleet approached the dazzling nebula, its colors swirling like liquid fire, Rachel gathered her officers and their Veil counterparts for a briefing. The nebula held mysteries waiting to be unraveled, but it also posed risks: unstable energy fields and gravitational anomalies that could endanger the mission. "This will test us," Rachel said, addressing the group. "But if we face it together, there's nothing we can't overcome." Cale stepped forward, its voice steady and reassuring. "Together, we are stronger than any challenge." With those words echoing in their minds, the fleet entered the nebula, its radiant beauty illuminating their path. For the first time in history, humanity and the Veil ventured into the great unknown, not as strangers, but as allies. Their journey was just beginning, and though the road ahead would be fraught with trials, they faced it with hope, courage, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. Under the shimmering light of distant stars, two species forged a bond that transcended fear and mistrust, a bond that promised to guide them toward a brighter, shared future.